Hi, how's it going?
Hello everyone. In a recent video, I looked at an Arccaptain ARC 200. When testing that machine, I found that rather than the claimed 200 amps of output, it maxed out at 160 amps. Arccaptain also sells an ARC 160, which claims 160 amps of output. When I tested the ARC 200, I said I couldn't help but wonder if the ARC 160 and ARC 200 were basically the same machine, but with the ARC 200 display programmed to make it look like it has more output. Well, I've got the ARC 160 on the bench today, and we're going to find out. The ARC 160 is slightly shorter and almost 25% lighter than the ARC 200, so there are surely some internal differences as well. Let's open the cases and take a look. Inside, there are clear similarities to the construction, but the differences are just as clear. The ARC 200 is built heavier. The ARC 200 has twice the primary capacitors, dual primary rectifiers, larger heat sinks, more IGBTs, and a much larger transformer. So you are getting a higher output design with the ARC 200 than the ARC 160. Still, the ARC 200 does have far less output than claimed, and considering how much lighter the ARC 160 is built, I doubt it will match the output of the ARC 200, but let's give it a quick test and find out. Here I'm trying to run a 5/32 inch 7018 with the machine set at 160 amps, running on 240 volts. Even without the amp clamp, it was plain to me that it wasn't anywhere near 160 amps. And the amp clamp confirmed that the max output is around 124 amps. I switched to a 1/8 inch electrode and it ran fine and showed the same roughly 124 amps of output. So the ARC 200 is actually a 160 amp welder, and the ARC 160, it turns out, is a 125 amp welder, roughly. The small heat sinks, small transformer, lightweight design overall of the ARC 160 inside definitely doesn't give the look of a 160 amp machine. I'm getting to the point where I cannot personally recommend any machine with such blatantly false specs. Do they work? Sure, and 125 amps is probably enough for most home users, and 160 surely is. But there's no reason these companies can't just rate their machines honestly. People just starting out welding may pick up a welder like this and be confused when rods don't run the way the tutorial videos or the amperage charts say that they should at a given amperage. Or someone may buy a welder like this for a specific purpose and find out it's totally incapable of meeting their needs because it's overrated by 40 amps. And if a company is willing to so blatantly lie about a spec that is so easy to test, what about duty cycle? Or about the safety ratings for a device that can have hundreds of volts running to it? The 240 volt adapter should be enough to show that conforming to safety regulations and codes isn't a top priority of the design. Regardless, I'm just getting sick of the lies and false specs. The fact that it's cheap or works well enough for most people, or that all the Chinese sellers do this and people should expect it by now, just aren't good enough excuses for me anymore. And it isn't like it's just a number on a spec sheet or something. These machines are manufactured specifically to display incorrect amperages, and they have blatantly incorrect data on the data tags. That is willful deception. Arccaptain's stick welders don't do what they claim, the specs are lies, and I don't recommend them. Hopefully that was helpful. As always, thanks for watching. Take care.